welcome everyone to Grace Greer's senior speech. I want to begin by welcoming several of her special guests who are visiting with us today. Gracie's mother, Kristen, and her father, Philip, her grandmother, Sherry Murdaugh, and of course her brother, Lucas, and her boyfriend, Connor Willis. I've had the honor of teaching Grace 2 out of my 3 years here at Augusta Prep, and I found her to be just an incredibly organized, careful, thoughtful, hardworking student. I would even say that her lesson notes are usually worthy of publishing for other students to use. Grace is also just a very kind and generous human being, giving her time to Augusta Prep and to her outside community. Grace's extracurricular schedule here at Augusta Prep includes cheerleading, in which she's been the football cheer co-captain for 2 years. She's a part of Model UN and has served as its president for 2 years, and the National Honor Society. Grace also works at the lower school. But outside of Augusta Prep, she enjoys playing tennis, and of course we all know that she enjoys writing, and she enjoys watching movies. Hence the topic of her speech today is about female role models in movies. Please welcome Grace Greer.
First of all, I want to say Mr. Galvin is very brave for giving me a hug after I've been sick over the past couple of days. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being forced to come to my senior speech. You should have all received a movie list and a bag of popcorn. I will talk about that movie list later on. While the beginnings of these seem and tend to be redundant, I do not plan on switching from tradition. Therefore, to begin, I would like to thank my advisor, Mr. Galvin, for the best 3 years filled with Starbucks inside of Georgia Tech, while others climbed the giant hill in the sweltering heat, for thoughtful slideshows when no one wanted to do Social Institute, and for knowing me well enough to help me pick classes that made me a well-balanced student. I want to thank my brother, Lucas, who's been my mandatory best friend since birth, my boyfriend, Connor, who you could find at the football games holding my fat head, and who is such a positive support in my life, and my family for pushing me beyond what I thought was possible. I want to dedicate my speech to my parents. If you've had the opportunity to get to know them, you are so lucky. To my dad, thank you for fostering the love of film and for being the image of success I aspire to one day achieve. You are impressive. To my mom, thank you for being my real-life Wonder Woman. I wouldn't be who I am today without your support and love. You're my role model. Life is so full when I'm with all of you. I think it's interesting how our generation has found pieces of themselves in movies and TV shows. You can see that reflected in past senior speeches. While we don't always know what our peers will talk about up here, I can tell you this, my speech and Jack Kimbrough's are like brother and sister. Today, I'm going to give you a different lens, a different camera angle on role models in film through the female perspective. Growing up, I was introduced to film from an early age. Friday nights consisted of me and my dad catching up on the latest Marvel movie, back when they were good, but that's a different speech topic. Or picking one from a list he had created of all the movies I had to watch with him before I got married, which is the list that you all have. And by the way, if you need any movie recommendations, you should check them out. I knew that every Friday, I could come home, kick back, eat pizza, popcorn, and watch cinema. The comfort and love that I felt from movies and having that time with my family naturally gave me role models, ones on the screen. Ever since I was little, and throughout my entire career as a student, I've never felt good enough. Maybe you've felt this too. If you're anything like me, maybe you often compare yourselves to your classmates or their SAT scores and think, I'm not smart enough, not capable enough to reach my dream job, to study certain subjects in college, and to succeed in the business world. And no matter how many times someone tells you contrary, that feeling does not go away. Sorry boys, but I think girls have it worse in this department. There's actually research behind this. In fact, according to Forbes, quote, women tend to underestimate their abilities more so than men. reducing their confidence and making them less likely to put themselves forward for roles until they feel they are 100% ready, end quote. This is a reality. For many women, we constantly put ourselves down or say that there's someone better when in reality, we are enough. Kathy Calvin, the former CEO of the UN Foundation, once said, quote, "We women hold ourselves back. We think we are experienced enough when in fact we are," end quote. One of the best ways to combat this feeling is to see women in power positions and watch the change they make from an early age. This is why female role models, especially in film, are important. Think Carrie Fisher, think Sigourney Weaver, think Gina Davis. These women demonstrate what it means to fail and overcome. Before I get into some specific movie examples, I wanted to start by broadly comparing old versus new character development and female leads. Let's start with the older movies. The qualities that make female leads stars of their time were based on their character arcs. These arcs were written similarly to male roles. They included the struggle for character and built a plausible backstory. They gave the characters believable powers, if any at all, and showed the trials it took for these characters to learn these powers. They also displayed femininity and maternal instincts in a way that empowers women. The newer versions utilize something called the Mary Sue effect. The Mary Sue effect demonstrates a woman who is free from mistakes and failure and who is generally perfect. Mary Sue often has unbelievable skills and stands only as a symbol of empowerment for ladies. The term Mary Sue comes from a 1973 Star Trek fan fiction where one of the characters was deemed too perfect. This is why there's often a correlation between having a Mary Sue character in your story and bad writing. Mary Sue often outweighs all others in skill and warps the meaning of femininity to be defeating men rather than discussing what women go through. Now I want to take a deeper dive into two of my favorite female characters ever written in film. Princess Leia. Every girl wants to be a princess. Leia Organa, aka Princess Leia, is not only a princess, but a girl boss, and not in the gaslight gatekeep girl boss sense. Princess Leia is a skilled diplomat and leader and knows how to wield a blaster. She is a prime example of a well-developed character arc. Princess Leia doesn't wait around for a man to come and save her. Beginning as a princess, she then develops as the series continues into a military leader for the resistance. She is capable and determined, and while her skills are not physical, she is resilient. No matter how many times her plans don't work out, she always manages to climb out of the trash compactor and back in planning against the Empire. Princess Leia is strong, as evidenced by the controversial Jabba the Hutt scene, where Leia manages to kill Jabba with the chain she was in prison with. That's the little stop motion I included. Not Luke, not Han, but Leia gets to kill Jabba. While Princess Leia is strong, she doesn't have to give up her femininity for strength. She displays strength through emotions, as evidenced with her relationship with her brother Luke, siblings are dating, and with her eventual partner, Han Solo. Princess Leia is an icon. When I was little, I wanted to be a princess, and for me, she was the kind I wanted to be. She taught me problem-solving skills, to think on my feet, and showed me how to love and speak with care for those around me. Princess Leia showed me love was possible even while in power. She told me it was okay to fall as long as I got back up. Princess Leia was an inspiration. Ellen Ripley. Aliens, cool jumpsuits, space, robots. What's not to love about the 1979 classic Alien? Not only is this film iconic, but this film has one of the most iconic women in cinema history as its lead. If you haven't seen Alien, it's about the Nostromo crew, a group sent to check out a distress signal they received from a planet. Little do they know, they end up resurrecting an alien known as a xenomorph and bring it on board with them. Suddenly, aliens begin popping out of people's chests and taking over. Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver, is the sole survivor, and she manages to escape to another ship. Ellen Ripley is often regarded as one of the most well-developed characters in film. Ellen Ripley earns her character arc. What's interesting about Alien is that the character Ellen was originally written to be played by a man. Sigourney Weaver says part of the reason she took the role was because, quote, it was written in a very straightforward way.
a kind of direct person where she didn't have these scenes when she's suddenly vulnerable. She didn't throw her hands up and wait for someone to save her, end quote. Ellen Ripley was also not instantly good at killing aliens. Instead, she learned by watching her crew and through problem solving how to kill them. This took numerous trials, as evidenced by the fact that she was the sole survivor of the Nostromo crew. Not only is Ripley cool as hell, but she's also feminine. In the movie Aliens, Ripley discovers a little girl named Newt who she protects and keeps safe. This maternal instinct not only adds to her, but gives her power and a relatability between mother and daughter love. The clip that just played, that was Ripley saving Newt from the Queen Alien. Alien doesn't ditch traditional gender roles, but instead empowers women through them, and still lets the character be a hero. Ellen Ripley challenged what female power meant in the late 70s and early 80s, and she still does to this day. For me, Ellen Ripley became who I wanted to be. So much so, I had an alien birthday party, bought a costume, and a fake cat to match hers. Every time Ripley yelled a perfectly timed cuss word, she taught me to never back down. I learned from her to keep trying when methods fail and to be unapologetically you. Because as activist Bernard Barak says, quote, "Those who matter don't mind, and those who mind don't matter," end quote. Ellen Ripley instilled confidence in me. Now I want to take a moment to discuss the flip side of a well-developed character arc. Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers from Captain Marvel is a Mary Sue. Her powers are far-fetched and poorly explained, and she's the only one out of the entire MCU that can deal damage to Thanos. I mean, just look at Thanos. For reference, she is 5'7", and Thanos is 8'3". That's a 2'8" difference. Maybe this is a David and Goliath allegory, but I'll say that for the English teachers. Anyway, as I was saying, Captain Marvel somehow manages to ward off Thanos, leading to his demise. Yay, Avengers! Captain Marvel stands purely as a symbol of power, with her being the first female-fronted superhero movie by Marvel. The filmmakers of Captain Marvel said, quote, "The movie was intended to make people feel powerful and seen," end quote. Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, spends the entire movie trying to figure out who she is. And by the end of the film, the question is left unanswered. She lacks emotion, has little connection with the audience, and is hard to relate to. She defies all gender norms to create a progressive Hollywood character that doesn't do young women justice. It's okay for a woman to want to fall in love, to be vulnerable, to have maternal instincts. Modern femininity is not changing from having feelings to having none. Captain Marvel holds women to an entirely different standard that does not represent real girls, real issues, or real failures. Captain Marvel is put in perspective when published New York Times author Peter Sutherland says this, quote, "It's a cold, closed-off film, indifferent to both its audience and its central character," end quote. If Captain Marvel is meant to inspire and promote women, why doesn't it focus on authentic female experiences? Instead of encouraging young girls to embrace their emotions, it suggests they should suppress them to appear strong and perfect. Captain Marvel is powerful, but she lacks depth beyond her strength. She is an example of a progressive Hollywood, one with good intentions to represent females, that ultimately falls short due to the absence of a humanizing character arc. Rey Skywalker. Rey Skywalker is another example of an underdeveloped character. Unlike Luke Skywalker, she does not have an arc. She learns the Force very quickly, is handed down Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, and can defeat the entire force of Dyad without breaking a sweat. Rey Skywalker is given no Force training, but somehow knows how to defeat Kylo Ren's mind trick to escape the Empire's clutches. And in the end, she defeats the most powerful Sith Lord in the galaxy. In contrast, Luke Skywalker, who had lots of training, from Yoda, mind you, still lost horribly to the Empire, while Rey, who had zero training from Yoda, managed to defeat them. Rey is too perfect. She is kind, powerful, and insanely skilled. However, she's not relatable. I think it is best put when Evelyn News, journalist for Boston College, says, quote, "We as women deserve female-made characters who we can relate to. Characters that share our woes and weaknesses and fears and who make the same mistakes we do. We should be able to grow up alongside a woman as we do with Hermione from the Harry Potter series, although she isn't the title character, or Ripley from the Alien franchise." Rey Skywalker is another example of a good-intentioned Hollywood trying to empower women, but missing the mark on the humanization of the character. I think by now, you should all be able to see the differences between a good character arc and a bad one. You may be thinking, Grace, didn't you say just seeing females on screen is enough? That whole seeing is believing thing? Yes, seeing is believing. But women are past the point of even just trying to get on the screen. We've made leaps and bounds in the film industry. It's the portrayal of women that's important now. It's the message that you're sending to the young girls in the audience, reaching out and saying, hey, it's okay to fail, kid. As someone who's a perfectionist and tends to have lots of anxiety, seeing a woman who's perfect and she's supposed to represent me makes me more anxious because no one is perfect, male or female. The message I want to leave you all with is that life is full of failures, and it's how you pick yourself up that matters. As Carrie Fisher once said, quote, "Some women play hard to get, I play hard to understand," end quote.